We're going to answer the question, how to make crab cakes. Now, there's plenty of ways to make crab cakes, and there's all kinds of recipes, and some have mayonnaise in them. As a matter of fact, a lot of them have mayonnaise in them. And some are deep fried, some are sauteed, some are baked. But the recipe I'm going to show you today doesn't have mayonnaise in it, and it's what I consider to be the nicest crab cake recipe that I have or that I've seen. Now, one would measure the quality of the crab cake, if you will, in one way by how firm it is. Like if it's a hockey puck, obviously the texture of the crab cake would not be that desirable. So if you don't have a bit of a problem handling the crab cake, what I mean by that is it should almost fall apart, but not fall apart, of course, while you're both making them, sauteing them, transferring them to the plate to eat, and so on and so forth. So this recipe I call for 1 pound of special crab meat. That would be the grade of crab meat. Now, you can use lump, jumbo lump, special, or back fin. Now, today we have back fin because that's what they had at the market this morning when we went. And what I got was 2 8-ounce containers. And you remember one thing about the crab cake recipe itself and the process for making it, that is that first you make the crab mix and then you allow it to rest. You let the crab and the breadcrumbs, small amount of breadcrumb that we'll have in there, allow that to absorb the cream and egg mixture and the vegetables, so that when you make and form the hashes, don't forget, crab cake is a hash, or a form of a hash, that it holds together and it adheres a little bit like good packing snowballs. If you're from up north, you'd understand that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pound of crab and put it in the bowl. Now this particular crab has been picked free of all of its shells too. And if you happen to have a pound of pasteurized both in a can, or this is pure fresh, this has not even been in a can, just double check to make sure that you have a brand name, if you will, that picks the crab meat clean of shells, because you don't want to be biting down on shells when you're eating your crab cake. So we're going to take the minced celery and the minced red pepper, and we're going to put a little bit of chopped scallion in there. See, I have videos for you of the minced red pepper and the minced celery, but not of the scallion, so that's kind of why I'm chopping it. Okay, let's take a little bit of scallion. Now, theoretically, you could take this mixture and make a giant crab cake out of it if you wanted to make a really big one. I've never seen anyone do it, but you could do it. My point is this, is that you can make any size you want, really. You can make a 2-ounce crab cake that you can use as an hors d'oeuvre size, or a 4-ounce, or a 6-ounce. 4 ounce is a good size because you can offer that as 2 4-ounces as a main dish, or 1 4-ounce crab cake and maybe 1 4 or 5-ounce little steak or something with it too as a combination. Now, one thing I want to emphasize to you, and it's also in the written recipe, and that is that you don't want to over mix the crab mix when you're making it at this stage right here, because you don't want to break the crab up into pieces any smaller than it needs to be. Otherwise you could end up with a crab spread, if you will, and someone might actually say this is hash. You know, you don't want that. All right, so I'm going to separate the 3 eggs that go into this recipe, because the recipe calls for 3 egg yolks and 1/3 of a cup of cream per pound of crab. Okay, there's our 3 egg yolks. And I've got 1/3 of a cup of cream here. And we're going to put a little bit of salt. And you want to put when you season this mixture, you want to put your seasoning, your salt and pepper, in the egg and cream mixture. That way it gets evenly divided, and you don't have to add another ingredient and mix again. The more mixing, the more you break up the crab cake, the crab meat. I'm going to put a little bit of cayenne pepper in here. Now, of course, there are all kinds of versions of this that are made spicy in that too, and you can certainly add whatever flavor, hot, spicy flavor, whatever it is you want to it. I kind of like it plain like this myself. All right, now we'll put the egg mixture on there. And I'm going to put a little bit of breadcrumb in here. You want to be careful you don't put too much breadcrumb. Just put a little bit in there. Now we're going to mix her up. Could you put other stuff in here? Could you put fresh herbs in here? Of course you could. You don't want to overcomplicate it either. You want your crab cake to be such so that when you're eating it, all you see and taste really is the crab. You put too much other stuff in there, it starts diluting the crabbiness of the cake, which seems to be one of the biggest complaints people have is I had a crab cake, but didn't seem to be that much crab in it. So you just want to be cognizant of that and sensitive to that. Okay, so now you want to taste your mixture. Make sure you got enough salt in it. Which I do. Now, I'm going to plastic wrap this, and I'm going to stick it in the fridge for about 2 hours. We're going to come back on time-elapse video here in about 2 hours, and then I'm going to show you how to patty them up and bread them and store them before you saute them. So I'll be back right now, actually. We're back with the crab mix. It's been sitting for about 2.5 to 3 hours. And it's in the same bowl with the same plastic wrap on it I had before. What I did was I got a little scale here because I'm going to show you what a 4-ounce crab cake looks like and what a 2-ounce crab cake looks like. So first we're going to go in here and feel the mixture. It's nice and wet. That's great. Now we're going to take some breadcrumbs and we're going to dump them on a big flat surface like this. You see? Now, this is going to look extremely easy because it is. But for some reason, people tend to make this part more difficult than it really is. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cover up the scale with the plastic wrap here that we had. Keep that clean. If you don't have a scale, don't worry about it. But, I want you to see what a 4-ounce crab cake looks like. So first we'll take and measure out what 4 ounces looks like on a scale. All right, there we go. Just make it into a little bit of a ball. We don't want to squeeze any of the cream out of it. Set it down there, okay? Take a little bit of breadcrumb, throw it on top. Shake it loose. Put it on the table like you're going to make a burger. Tighten it up just a little bit. Boom. Now, one thing you'll notice about this crab cake, it's not tapered like a flying saucer. If you do that, the ends will cook faster than the others. And it's slightly tall. You don't want it too flat because you can dry it out. You want it nice and moist and creamy inside when you're done. Now I'm going to put it back on here, throw a little bit of breadcrumb on it, and set it over here. Now we're going to let these set, of course, for about an hour and a half, 2 hours before we saute them. We're going to do another time-elapse take on this particular preparation for you. Okay, I'll do another 4-ounce one here. Right on the money. On the table. You'll notice I'm not handling this very much. You'll see, this is very important that you understand this part. If you overhandle the crab cake, you'll destroy the thing. It'll be falling apart on you all over the place. You see how fast that was? Okay, now I'm going to do, let's do a couple of 2-ounce ones. I'm making sure that I'm grabbing the crab mix from the bottom because I don't want any cream and egg yolk mixture left at the bottom of this mixture when I'm done, see? So make sure you get some nice little bit of wet on all of this. Another 2 ounces. Let's hit those with a little bit of breadcrumb. Same routine again. Gently. You want the top to be a little bit flat. And back on the breadcrumbs, boom. Same thing again. Minimal handling. A bit of extra breadcrumb, boom. Now I'm going to make 2 more 4 ounces, which is what I think I should have in here. There's 4 ounces there. And we'll make 1 5-ounce. We got exactly an extra ounce. When we're all done, we're going to add up all the ounces and see what we started with, and then you see what we end up with. And that will be the typical formula for the mix. Normally, if you start out with a pound, you should end up with 24 ounces, which is you add 8 ounces of stuff, if you will, food to the mixture. A big part of that's the egg and cream mix. So on the table, this is the 5-ounce one here. This will probably be the one that I'll end up grabbing for lunch if Richard doesn't get it first. Okay, that's the 5, and here's another 4-ounce one here. On the table again, minimal handling. Boom. Now one thing you want to keep in mind, after these are allowed to set in the fridge for a while, is the bottom of these will actually end up being the top of the crab cake, because that's going to be the flattest from sitting on a plate, and we're going to saute that face down first, and that'll end up being the top of the crab cake because it'll be the flattest and the evenest, and therefore it will brown the most even and it'll look the best. But you, of course, take whatever side turns out the best and make sure that's the side that's face up, regardless of what I say. All right, I'm going to put these back in the fridge for about 2 hours, and we're going to come back and we're going to show you how to saute them. And there's definitely some tricks to sauteing these crab cakes and having them come out perfect. So we'll be back in 2 hours or right now. Okay, the crab cakes have had an opportunity to rest in the fridge for a couple of hours now. And just the way we left them, we have a 5-ounce, 3 4-ounce, and 2 2-ounce. So what do we have here? We got 4, 8, 12, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 ounces. So you could have put a little bit more food. I'm 3 ounces short of the actual recipe that you have on the PDF. You need a little bit more celery, a little bit more onion, a little bit more if you want, okay? Just making a little bit of tomato concasse back here, which we're going to use for garnish. But the focus of this particular episode is for you to understand how to make the crab cake, how to saute the crab cake. I'm going to give you a little bit of lemon butter sauce and a couple of small garnishes on it to show you one way you can deal with it. But understanding how to assemble, make, cut the vegetable, the staging of the timing and the waiting that we've been doing throughout the process here is essential that you understand. Now, we're heating up a pan, and I'm going to put some whole butter in it. Why? Because it tastes good rather than oil, okay? Now, you might want to be careful how many of these you do at one time yourself, but I got a little bit more practice. Let's hope I don't screw this up on you now. And we're going to put them in there, and we want to make sure that we don't overload the pan or put more in the pan than we can comfortably, we meaning you, can comfortably handle at one time cooking, okay? I'm using a non-stick pan because it's ideal in this situation. We're not making a pan sauce out of this stuff, you see? Tomato concasse is done. You had that in another episode, of course. Now, the other thing you want to do is you only want to turn the crab cakes over one time. So you check them, see if they're brown, then you turn them over once. That's it. The more you turn them over, the more likely they have of falling apart because they're being handled more than they need to be. Okay? Now, the breadcrumbs will burn rather easily. See how nice and brown that is? You see how I'm turning them over? I'm not getting in there with a big hairy spatula or anything like that. Okay, now I'm going to take these, I'm going to pop them right in the oven to finish heating them up all the way through. Once they're completely hot, they're done. We're going to do a quick time elapse on this for you. I'm going to pull them out in 5 minutes, so I'll be back right now in 5 minutes. Okay, 5, 6, 7 minutes has elapsed. And out comes the crab cakes. And they look good. So we'll just do a, how do I say, a couple of little mini presentations on the crab cakes. Important part of the crab production, preparation, you have seen and you need to understand if you want to make this particular crab cake. So let's say this is a dinner. Look at how nice those look. And let's say this is a first course. Okay. Here you probably put a couple of vegetables or something like that alongside with this one here, okay? Let's get this out of the way. I have a little bit of butter sauce, white butter sauce, that you have a lesson for. And I would put a little bit of that on there. You want to make sure you don't put it on the crab cake directly. You don't want to screw with the brown crispiness part of this at all too, see? So I have a little bit of tomato concasse here. Just made it out of the pan. Put a little spoon of that over here on the side of the plate. And where's that tarragon at? Bring that little bunch of tarragon over here. Put a little sprig of tarragon there. A little bit of diced tomato here. Thank you. A little bit of chopped parsley. Let's clean this plate. Oop. Don't do this at home. Okay, no. Let's clean that up a touch. I'm going to put another drop of sauce in that spot I just smeared there. There we go. You and I are the only ones that know I did that. Okay. There's one little version of it there. And here's a little appetizer version of the same thing. Where's that tarragon at? There we go. And let's get a little bit of parsley here. Quick, a couple of lemon boxes, as I would call them. Much more than that would be more than you would need, see? Just give them a little piece of lemon there. And there you have it, crab cakes in 3 different sizes, only because the last one didn't have enough for more than 2, it was 5 ounces. So we made a single 5-ounce crab, and some 4-ounce crabs, and some 2-ounce crabs. These are nice. Enjoy these. Now there's something that you can do with these crab cakes. I just want to reinforce this a little bit, and that is that you can serve this with a small fillet, or a piece of chicken, or a piece of pork, or lamb, or veal, or something like that. You can even put a little stew next to this of some kind of meat to have what you might call surf and turf, depending on where you're from, you know. There you have it, crab cakes. Enjoy them. I've enjoyed them my whole life, this particular recipe.